Hafa, welcome back to Challenge the Status Quo. You are listening to Wave 105.1 FM. My name is Melvin Wonpat Borja, and we're back in the mix. Excited for today's conversation, our weekly community conversation around decolonization, Guam's political status, Chamorro self-determination, and the whole 9 yards. We're doing the thing. And I'm really excited today because we have we're having a team field trip today, guys. It's a family outing. So for those of you that are unfamiliar with the Commission on Decolonization, if you're tuning in with us for the first time, of course, thanks first to our friends at Glimpses for hooking us up with this awesome community spot that allows us to do some on the air outreach. So this is all a part of our educational platform to help raise awareness around Guam's political status resolution, Chamorro self-determination, decolonization, what it means for Guam, our people, our government, and how we live our daily lives. The Commission on Decolonization was created in 1997 through Guam legislature, and it has been, quite honestly, a very humble operation, a very small operation. And so when I first started at the Commission on Decolonization in 2019, sorry guys, I'm doing the super long intro, even though our Instagram viewers can see you here. I started off as with a very meager budget. It was me and one other staffer, my good friend Josh Uggan. Rest in peace, Josh. But we had a very small operation. We had a $500 operating budget, and I was really excited because I was really into this subject and the work, and I really wanted to do the work. But when we first started, it was very, very humble and small. And so we just, no big deal for me. I was a public school teacher at the time, so, we're used to kind of making the most of what we got. And so we really just focused on utilizing what we had in place to kind of grow the capacity of COD. And so what we did is we're finally here now to have two wonderful staffers on our team. This is Harmony Palaganas and Byron Uggan, and they are both staff assistants at the Commission on Decolonization. Can you just give you guys a chance to say hello?
Sure, I'll start. Hi, Hafa. My name is Harmony. I've been with the commission, I realize now, 2 years last week.
Hey, wow, already. We were 2-year anniversary. Nice.
And it's just great to be here today with everyone.
Yep. And hi, I'm Byron Uggan. I'm also a staff assistant with COD. I've been with the commission since late January, so I'm about 8 months with the commission. I really appreciate the opportunity to be on the air with our wonderful director and, of course, my coworker Harmony.
Thank you guys for being here. So the reason why I put all this I wanted to put this into a very long-winded introduction for the two of you is we're having Semi.
Hello? I have no idea.
They're listening, guys. I mean, that's kind of the point, right?
That was the distraction.
They're listening to us. They're tapping our show. You guys don't have to tap the show, man. I mean, it's It's on the radio, 105.1 FM.
And YouTube.
On YouTube, thank you. Yes, Wave 105.
Right. Oh, yeah. We have to announce that. Wave 105 has the YouTube live stream going. Of course, we're also on, live streaming on the COD Instagram. And, of course, the traditional 105.1 on your FM signal. So, Big Brother does not need to work hard on giving us feedback on our system here. No need to spy on this show. It's public for sure. Anyhow, sorry about the technical difficulties, folks. So what we've been doing, and just to kind of provide the legal context for our office, is that our commission was built by Guam law to do two things. One was to, of course, facilitate the political status referendum, the plebiscite vote. And the second piece, of course, is to educate people and help raise awareness in preparation for that vote. Now, in the Davis case, the Davis decision, Guam versus Davis v. Guam, the court eventually ruled that it was unconstitutional for us to hold the vote in the way that was prescribed by Guam law. Now, of course, we are an instrumentality of Guam, and Gov Guam law, and that's, it's not, we are not the legal experts, and we are not policy writers. We are built for education and to facilitate a vote. But because the vote was the voting piece of our mandate was effectively shut down by the federal court, what it means then is that the only part of our mandate that we can legally fulfill is education. And so that was kind of the deal when I started with the Commission on Decolonization. That was we were at that point where, it was at the Ninth Circuit Court, and that decision was being made. And so we were already in a moratorium during that period when it went into local court. And so we knew that, education had to be our focus, which, nice coincidence for me. I'm an educator. And so I was really, it wasn't, it obviously was a loss, I think, to the people of Guam. For me, that was the point, right? Is that our law went through a public process, a democratic process, a legal democratic process. But because we're non-self-governing, we can't just stand, hold the line as a voting politic, right? And say, hey, the citizenry of Guam, the people of Guam, right? And the law was created not with a native inhabitant vote to pass the law. The law was created through an open process, right? An open electorate. And so I think that's one of the big kind of fundamental challenges for me. But I'm happy that the two of you came in today and agreed to. Normally, my crew is the behind the scenes hardcore workers. I gotta give these guys props. You see me a lot because I do the show, and I have to be in all the pictures. But none of the work that I do is possible without my crew. And this is why I opened the show with kind of saying, this was what our staff used to look like, and this is what our budget used to look like, and what we used to have to work with. And we've grown considerably. I mean, the fact that I have 2 people on my staff is a huge victory, given where we've come from. But even more so that, I have 2 really intelligent and capable workers doing this job at the Commission on Decolonization. So thank you guys. I have to publicly thank you on the radio. I know it's a little embarrassing, but
No, we're getting our flowers.
there you go. That's a great way to look at
Just
it.
kidding.
Yes, I'm learning this one. I got schooled on the flowers. I was like, what do you mean they gave you a bouquet? Asked my wife. She's like, oh yeah, they gave me flowers at the meeting. And I was like, oh yeah, who again gave you flowers, girl? And I just learned that getting flowers is a metaphor. All right. See, I can do the metaphors. Anyway, okay. So the focus on education is definitely important. And one of the things that I want to start with is the creation of the content, because that was one of the weaknesses, in my personal opinion. That was one of the weakness is not fair. It was just one of the things that had not been updated. It had not been done in a while, because there was a significant amount of education that was done and content that was created for education in other eras of this struggle. This is a long struggle. We've been doing this for generations. And so, one of the first things that we did was we leveraged a federal grant. It was an interior grant that was given to all of the non-self-governing territories. It was approximately $300,000. So we used a portion of that to contract the University of Guam to then hire scholars to build out this study. And of course, our office helped with the communication with all the government agencies. Harmony actually was one of the students that was hired to be a part of the research team to gather all the information. And so that effort became Gihamotna, which is the self-determination study for Guam. And that was really, that has served as our
Foundation.
our foundation.
Yeah.
It's our foundational document, our academic centerpiece, which is awesome, because that then opened opportunity for us to create other resources like Gihamotna at a Glance, which is my personal favorite, because that is the ode to all the students who ever were in my class at Southern High School. If you're ever in my class, this is my ode to you, homie. all of you who are like, "Man, sir, you're gonna make me read all of that? That's a lot, sir. I don't want to read that, man. Is there a movie?" Unfortunately, guys, we didn't have the budget to make the movie. Though we do have film, we do. But we couldn't make, like, the movie version of Gihamotna, unfortunately. But we did the next best thing, and we did the remix on the Cliff Notes. So it's like the condensed version, and it has pictures, yo. Pictures. All my students who hated all the books I made them read with no pictures, it was good. You liked it when you got into it. But this one has pictures, which is awesome. Great graphic design. And of course, we have other resources like the Territory Like No Other educational insert. We had 2 30-minute documentaries, a bunch of stuff. Anyhow, I'm hogging the mic here, and I want to give you guys a chance to talk about this. But the reason why I wanted to bring these up is because I wanted to give you guys a chance to talk a little bit about how we have utilized these materials. Both of you came in at a time when we had just kind of wrapped on production of all of these things. And so it's a cool kind of experience, I think, for the two of you to step into the operation where it's, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's still a very modest operation, guys. I don't want to fool the viewers like, oh yeah, these guys came into this super cushy office. We have a very small office. but you had a lot of material, like a lot of educational content to work with, to start with, and to take on the outreach. So that's what I really wanted to talk to you guys about, and have you both kind of chime in on your experience doing this work. And then of course, along the way, we should talk about, what it exactly is it that we are doing, how we are using this material. So go ahead, Harmony. You came, actually you started before Byron, so you came in at a time when you just kind of had to jump right into the outreach mix.
Yeah, definitely. So I joined 2022, a year after Gihamona came out, and it was the foundational piece. And I want to start off by saying, like, shout out to Nolan and Natasha.
Yeah, our crew.
Nolan actually was the person who put together At a Glance, and then I believe it was Tosh who was one of the mains for Guam and Territory Like No Other, which was the remix.
Yeah, Natasha was even she was working at the office during COVID, and everybody was in lockdown. But we were receiving the drafts from the scholars who were writing the study, and so that, everybody's teleworking right at this time. Everybody in the government was somehow teleworking and just trying to figure out how do we do our work from home, and a lot of what we would normally be doing was just not. You can't do outreach during the lockdown, so we had no choice but to double down on the study. And the study was, the time when it first came out, we would just make time during the day. Okay, we got to do at least an hour, and Tasha and I would like kind of go back and forth. We have our marked up, paper printed. I had Tosh print us copies, like paper copies. Like, oh, I know this is so wasteful, but I can't be doing this on my computer. But we had no choice, and we just spent the lockdown reviewing the study and communicating with the scholars. And that was actually a really fun, it was obviously a maddening time for a lot of people, but in that aspect of the work, that was one of the fun. I always think about COVID when I think about the study. I can't help it. There's trauma there. So you came in, it's cool. Your experience, you were one of the researchers with the study, and then you got to come in and kind of use it in its full glory form.
I know. Yeah. I started, when I was like a senior in college. Assisting Dr. Cooper is one of the many research associates that helped to write and research for Gihamona. And that was just like a behemoth of a project. I think Nolan and I still talk about it sometimes, like the late nights that we work putting together all the research for it. And then, my first draft came at like 92 pages. And I said, that's way too long, shorten it. Right. But even today, like human security was the section I worked on, and we use that in our presentations, especially with college courses. And it's so great to connect like what we wrote and researched into like a real classroom setting and translating it so that it matters to like especially the youth and students. Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie, when we opened the positions and we're looking to hire, you guys being young smart people is definitely a factor. Because I mean, just realistic. I know, right? We're not supposed to. I'm not saying that I only selected them because they're young. Okay, we were not making age a factor. But the truth of the matter is that we are being very deliberate, and this is one of the things that I think I like to think makes this version of COD stand out, is that we've been very deliberate about engaging with young people. And I think I just feel like that's strategic. There's no way to predict what's going to happen in a legal and policy framework in regard to the referendum. And I know the referendum is the most important thing. That's what we really want, right? That's what we're really after. But we're not lawyers, and we don't do that work. And there's no way to predict what will happen. And so I feel like the smartest thing really is to double down on education, and do that focusing on young people. I mean, I was a young person when I was first learning about this issue, and when I was a young person learning about it, it was so much older than me already. We had been doing it for such a long time, and I know it's frustrating. I think a lot of people, and I think it's warranted. I really empathize with a lot of people out there who there's always somebody who calls us in. yeah, this is great and all, but thank you, Life, for the information, boy. But when is the vote? That's what I want to know. Like, man, me too. But the education is still obviously very valuable. I think it's very important, and I think I think it's fair to say that all of the people that are doing this work, they have had an impact. There's a lot more critical conversation around political self-determination, a lot more awareness around the impact of Guam's political status on our day-to-day lives in our community now more than ever. And so I think that has to be a credit to all of the people who make this a part of their kind of regular rhetoric with their families, their friends, the teachers who just kind of go rogue in the classroom and it's like, hey, I'm going to teach you about this even though this is not in the book. Make their own like study packets. I had a couple teachers that used to do that. Like your text for the class is like a Xerox copy stack. I need that back, okay? and it looks like Xerox copy, but that's the classroom set. Yeah, I'm that age. We did that. The copy was still purple. You guys remember that, right? Yeah, the copy was purple. It was like a carbon. It's like a thing, like a machine. They roll the thing. Oh man, I'm totally aging myself. All right. So anyway, speaking of aging myself in classrooms, let's talk a little bit about the distribution and use. So where are copies available, and then how are we utilizing them? Once they're kind of in place. Go ahead, Brian.
Oh, sure. Okay. Yeah, so we have distribution sites across the island in the various mayor's offices. I know we've just restocked a couple of them in August. That includes like the Agate Mayor's Office, Agate Heights, Champago, MTM, and Jigo. We also have copies available of Gihimo at a Glance and the actual study at the UOG and GCC libraries. And we also have copies available at the libraries in the various high schools around Island as well. And when it comes to dissemination and distribution, we also have outreach tables around the community on an annual basis.
Yes, that's my bag. I love those.
Yeah, so when we have outreach, when it was March of this year, Mess Chamorro, we were deliberate in being out in the public on Wednesdays and Thursdays. I'm sure we've mentioned this before, but in outreach, we have the whole set, a copy of the study for those to browse through it. We have distribution of our at a glance material as well. And even when we're in the classroom in presentations, we always give a set to the students, to those who are we're presenting to.
Awesome. So let's talk a little bit about the classroom presence. This is one of the things too that is always tough with our office is we're still a small crew, and we're only responsible for educating like the entire island. That's it. Just the entire island. No big deal. Yeah. No big deal. I thought that public school teaching was rough, like just doing the math, right? But in public school, you're not supposed to have a class that's bigger than 28 students, and it's like they put it in the policy, and then and then if you do, you take over. You like supposed to agree. That public school policy that does not apply. It does not really work in Guam. And I always thought like, wow, man, my classes are always crowded. I always have way too many students. The ratio is way off here. And then I took on this job, and I was like, man, my ratio is like even more worser. Okay, but let's talk about classroom impact. You mentioned outreach and classroom hours. What are some of the things that that you guys have taken over? Well, it's just weird asking the question like I don't already know. Like I don't already know where you guys are going and what you guys are. Let's start here. When we first started doing this, I would we used to do this like boony style. Like we just show up, like we figure out, okay, teacher's down, they want to do something. Oh yeah, can you come and talk to our kids? We're doing a unit on political status or like the Organic Act or something like that. Whatever it is, UOG, GCC, high schools, even middle schools, whatever, teacher was interested, we just make an arrangement. Okay, show up on this day, and I would just tell Josh, okay, Josh, I gotta go, man. Hold it down at the office, and I'll just make time to hit whatever community meeting, classroom, outreach, whatever. And that was always just the deal. And when the two of you came on, well, it really started with when you first came on while Nolan was here, before you came into the office. We were really just at a point where we're trying to transition the outreach. Mm-hmm. And so that was a stage where it's like, all right, I can't, it's kind of unfair to be like, you just started working here, get out there and teach somebody something. Even though we knew that both of you, each of you, when you were hired, we knew that you understood the content very well. You understood the subject matter. But understanding the content and going out to do outreach are like two totally different things. Yeah, you need the content understanding is a prerequisite for sure. But we were just kind of starting to be deliberate about having, you and Nolan show up, mm-hmm. observe, and take on parts, sections of it. And then eventually when you came in, it was like, get on out there and do the thing. And so, but I think it's really been effective. And this is one of the things that I'm really grateful for, is that, the two of you have really embraced the role of a very wide role. We do a lot of stuff. We're going to be talking about a lot of things in this show segment. 2 hours is not enough to cover all the things that these guys do. But yeah, so when when you guys came in, that was really when your tandem was complete. When your tandem came together and formed Voltron, that was to me that was a kind of a step up in our operations, because it represented our ability to be in more places at once, to hit more people with this information and allow this information to do its work. So to be fair, right? This is a pretty wide scope of work. But what are some of the, since you guys went out of the way and do the metrics, these guys are good guys. Listeners, my crew is awesome. They even keep the data. This is the thing that I suck at, I'm not gonna lie. Keeping the metrics, oh man, I hate the metrics part. But yeah, since you guys did the work on keeping the metrics, can you talk to us a little bit about outreach impact and where you guys have been, what we've been doing as an office, and where the information is going?
Sure, yeah. I could just cover the metrics first, but yeah, I want to preface this by saying I love metrics. I think it's a great way to show everyone just how much we're doing.
That's why we're a good team, guys.
Yeah, we all have our specialties.
There you go.
Mine's unsurprising numbers, but anyway, so this is updated from October of last year to September of this year. We conducted 25 in-depth community presentations, and when we say that, the community presentations that we've done in the last 2 years have really elevated, and we try to really make connections, especially to Gihamona and our other resources, so that it relates a lot to how people can apply it to their daily lives. But doing that takes a lot of time, so our presentations usually last over an hour. So we calculated it, and we've probably done over 30 hours of in-classroom time with students, direct contact with them, doing these presentations, which is awesome. And that's actually a lot of time for 3 people.
It is. It is a significant, and you know, it's funny how this is totally the teacher in me is over here like, you can't just say that it's 5 hours of classroom time. It's not just 5 hours because I got to prep for those 5 hours.
True,
You know what I mean? I have a plan. And but you know, in all fairness, I think that is an important part of our of our day-to-day operation. That's one of the things that we've always. These two poor humans have had to deal with me and my crazy, like, I'm over here like getting like Zen Kung Fu master on it, like, first we must understand the way, and then and but I think that's the fun that's been the fun part for me personally, is that you guys have been very open to the process and to embracing the full thing and to being very strategic and very deliberate, and it's really necessary. I mean, we're only 3 people, and we don't get like we don't get the cool budget that gets like the YouTube streams on the budget hearing. we don't do that. We have a very modest budget. We kind of do what we can, and because of that, it's instead of kind of griping or crying about how much more money we need, we just kind of figure it out, and we just make a commitment that we're going to be strategic and kind of make the most of it. And that's one of the things too that I think is great, is the partnerships that we've developed.
Definitely.
Partnerships are key for an organization like COD. A small organization needs partners. And the cool thing is that I like about the strategy around creating partnerships as an office is that it also it's compatible with like this show. This show is all about how we can talk for 2 hours about every Wednesday about how political status is relevant to almost every aspect of our lives here in Guam. It is relevant and connected and has an impact on almost every aspect of government. And partnerships are great because partnerships give us those opportunities to be like, oh yeah, well, I'm a small business owner, but I am down with this because this obviously affects me. I love it. Okay, let's go. Byron, I'm hogging the mic again. Jump in here.
Oh, sure. And thanks, Harmony, for putting the metrics out there for the public. So I think we can talk about the types of presentations that we do, if that's okay. And please feel free to chime in if I miss anything. So as we focus on advocating and communicating, educating the youth, we have a couple of tailored presentations. The first that we have is sort of DCAL 101. This is typically done at the high school level, at least what I've experienced so far in my time with COD. So what this presentation typically entails is an introduction of basic concepts revolving around DCAL, self-determination, and political status options. So in this presentation, we typically workshop it, where we have an open discussion of what these terms will be interpreted with the students, how it relates to them on a personal level, and in a wider community level, on a government level. And we come back and we talk through the concepts, and we see how this applies to them, and we bring it back to the options as well. So that's DCAL 101. Kind of a wider scope, we call it, like, it's sort of info dump, is the deficiencies of the status quo presentation. What this entails is it's like a 3-part presentation, and it's typically done at the collegiate level. So this is, classes at GCC, classes at the University of Guam. So in this presentation, we talk about Guam's current political status as an unincorporated organized territory of the U.S. We bring up the concepts of DCAL and self-determination, and then we dive headfirst into how the status quo affects our day-to-day lives. So we typically go through 4 deficiencies in this presentation. We go through education, the economy, human security, external affairs, and defense. And typically, Harmony and I, we update the presentation with relevant news, because at least like or all pieces have to be updated, especially in how they affect Guam, especially looking at the recent sort of defense strategic buildup on Guam and how that affects our status and how we don't really consent to further military activities, just as an example. And the last part is just like an overview of the political status options as well. And we've also had some other curated presentations as well. I know Harmony took lead in doing one that revolves around the research or writing process. This is supposed to use our educational resources as sort of a backdrop to cite resources for those who are writing at a collegiate level. And we actually had a presentation that was piloted a couple weeks ago, which talks about Guam's historical and present engagement at the United Nations. And I'm sure that if you're an avid listener, we've had shows revolving around our engagement at the UN. So in this presentation, we talk about the key concepts revolving around international engagement and why, as a non-self-governing territory, we have to engage at the UN for effectuating a full measure of self-governance for Guam, and how it's key for us to do so. So we talk about the mechanisms of the UN as well, and we talk about our historical and current engagement, because this is a long-standing issue for Guam, spanning at least 5 decades, if not more. And we, that's a rundown of the presentations.
Awesome.
I hope
No, it's great.
it's a lot, at
It
least.
is.
Yeah.
Well, I
Yeah.
personally love the info dump. I'm a fan of the info dump. See, this is what it is. We do not discriminate on age. Just I had to put that out there. I know I like that these guys are like young, smart people, but we do discriminate on intelligence, yo. You have to be smart if you want to work at COD. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, shout out to Noah Austin. He's Noah's on our Instagram live feed. I like this new setup because I can see the iPad, Reese. For real, I don't know if you guys have
Great.
noticed that if you're watching on the live stream, we got this fancy new setup. I feel super executive here. I'm not hating on the old setup. The old setup was super like relaxed and like living roomy, coffee table ishy,
Super like podcasty.
podcasty.
like,
That's
very
what I was looking for.
chill.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. But we got this like sweet like
Little
faux granite
table.
table going on here.
Mhm.
It's pretty awesome. But yeah, I can see the live feed now. And so peace to Noah Austin, who says that as a citizen, I will gripe and cry about it. I love it. Yeah, see, and this is a really appropriate time, I think, right now to make this conversation more weighted in our leadership, right? And it's election season. And yeah, I was just listening to Patty's show earlier, and they were talking about people who they were just basically saying that we gotta be assertive in when we cast votes and what we want in our leadership. And there were people who were saying, somebody called in and said that my ballot might even be blank. And I'm just like, oh man. And they started having this conversation about this. It's like we just kind of put whoever out there, and it's more of a popularity contest, and for better or for worse, however you feel about it. I know, no offense to any of the legislative hopefuls out there, but I think that the point is that if we as a community don't demand that we get action towards a resolution, that we don't make progress, that we don't make these things our priorities, then it's always going to kind of be like this. We're not a small operation because nobody cares about it. It's just that we're a small operation because it's not being asserted as a priority. I think there are a lot of people who care about it. It's just not being demanded, at a higher level to say, hey, look, this should be funded, or this should be, be more deliberate. We talk about this all the time. Again, this is weird. This is a little weird when I'm over here like talking and trying to ask you a question that that I know that we've already talked about, but we're like, it's almost like I'm faking it for the camera, but I'm not. I'm just trying to like be smooth about leading the audience in real naturally, and obviously I'm blowing it. Like I'm not this is not very natural, but I'm just gonna be honest and authentic about it. It is a little weird, but just bear with me. We're gonna get through this. But yeah, let's talk a little bit about some of the other I guess the other creative ways that we've utilized outreach strategy. So yeah, we got some great stuff, and I know all the nerds out there are feeling us because we do research and stuff. We cite our sources, but for all the less nerdy people, I'm one of the things I really like is we've had some fun things, like done some fun things like film based projects Of course, we have the 30-minute kind of decolonization 101 documentary. We have another 30-minute documentary that's really focused on the study itself, the Gihemotna study, and features the scholars from the study. But there have been a number of other multimedia projects and engagements. If you guys don't mind talking a little bit about those and how you think that impact panned out for us.
At least I can plug where the films are. Those are on our
good
YouTube
idea.
Page. We're at Commission on Decolonization or at Decolonize Guam. That's our YouTube page.
Yes, thank you. See, that's another thing that I always forget and fail to mention. This is why my crew is on it. They always make sure that, like, the live streaming thing, guys. If you are watching this on live streaming on Instagram, thank these two, because if it was up to me or I was responsible solely for it, I would blow it. I would. I'm super terrible. Reese always has to remind me to, like, don't forget the iPad. Like, oh yeah. Okay, so if you guys don't mind, let's talk a little bit about the like other ways that we have use what I think is creative strategy to get our information out there, to engage with other people. Like, for example, we have the film stuff. We have the t-shirt project was a fun one. Of course, Mes Tomorrow is always a good one to engage around. But yeah, if you guys don't mind just kind of talking about any one of those experiences or those projects and how you think they worked, or even how there's maybe somebody out there who's listening, was not around or missed it. How did they get information?
Yeah. So one thing I love about the COD team now, like our team now, and also who's been in our team in the past, is that everyone's so creative in different ways. And so when we talk about these projects, there's always times when we're brainstorming together and thinking, like, how can we best reach the community and, like, break stigmas on decolonization and self-determination, because sometimes people see those as, like, really bad words, or words like they stay away from using because they're highly stigmatized. So one project that we were intentional about to kind of spread awareness, but in a way where it's not so overt or like in your face, is like our sticker project, which was something we did back in like 2022, where I think it was like Nolan and I were like, hey, like everyone loves stickers on water bottles and computers and all those things. Like, how can we get our messaging out to people in this very like casual way? And so
Cheap.
And cheap, true.
I won't lie, that was a factor. We're like, how much do these stickers cost?
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah.
Shout out to our partners.
Yeah.
Was it? I think it was like Valuable Media who designed them and created a new like.
Right.
They created a new like our graphics for us.
Right.
And then it was a few other vendors who printed it out, but. That sticker project has been super successful. Every time we go into a classroom, the students say, like, I love stickers, and they always take a few.
And they're fun. Like, I love that all of the messaging is deliberate.
Yeah.
Like the stickers, if you haven't seen the stickers, they're cool, super cool. And you can definitely get some if you want to get in touch with us. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook, Guam COD at guam.gov. If you want to email us. But yeah, they're like these cool little stamps. Like it's like I don't know, like a 1/2 inch or 1 inch stamp, something like that.
Yeah.
They're pretty small.
Yeah.
The little slaps for all you 90s kids.
Yeah.
But they're neat, right? There was one of them was Hurrah.
Yeah. So sorry.
No, go ahead. Do
No,
the thing.
no. Oh no. So we made them very intentional. We made 6 designs, but 3 of them focus on key dates in Guam's quest for decolonization. So Chief Hurrah was one, spanning back to like the 1600s. And then we had the Guam Congress Rock Out, 1945.
Which came out really
Or
nice. The
1949.
design on that one was cool. It's like got the historic, iconic Guam Congress building, and then like the shadow footsteps out of the building. Oh, I thought that one was done really nicely.
Yeah, and then we had the Finogi March from 2019 with the one person like raising the flag.
Yeah, holding the flag. That was a good one. Yeah, and those are all, those were fun because they're kind of they're good. They're consistent with our strategy in the sense that we really try to capture that excitement and of the people who've been a part of these movements, right, or this movement and these activities. but true to form, always kind of recognizing the work of our Sinai, our ancestors. Like that's one of the things that I personally feel very proud of for the if there is a legacy of this crew and our office and our run at this, I hope it's that we were respectful of those who came before us. I feel like we've always taken the time and the care to understand what we weren't around for, and that was like one of the first things that I'll never forget. This one of the first things I ever did when I first started the job at Guadalupe, the commission. I was still teaching, so I got hired, or I got notified that they were going to hire me, but I asked them to make my start date in I think it was like the beginning of January, because I was still at Southern High School, and I knew I couldn't work the full school year, but I was like, at least let me close the semester, And so every day after work, I would go to my office, my little storage closet office. And this is before even Josh started working there, Josh Huggin. And I would go down there and just kind of get whatever I could, because what ended up happening was that I found one of our friends, Jen Dula. If you're out there, Jen Dula, thank you. Jen Dula found that they're moving files, and those files turned out to be the part of the archive for COD, and they're it's the old documents, and nobody knew what to do with it, and so they were going to give it to Mark or RFK or something like that, because they didn't know who. And so Jen Dula ended up calling me and was like, hey, I know you're not working here yet, but they got these files. What do you want me to do? I'm going to tell them just put it in the office. I said, yeah. So that was one of the first things that I did, is went in there and I started digging through all the files, and I'm just getting caught up reading about like the Commission on Self-Determination and the Commonwealth Act. And it was a really cool thing. And of course, I'm very fortunate to have a lot of our elders that were willing to, to teach me, to meet with me. That was one of the first things I did too, was meet with people. Anyone who would meet with me, I would just try to sit down and, former directors or policymakers, people I've experienced. Dr. Underwood was one of those that really, agreed to kind of talk to me and help me. The former director, Ed Alvarez, Sign of Hope Cristobal. A lot of folks were really generous. Leland Bettis, who was the director of the Commission on Self-Determination. But yeah, it was, I definitely feel fortunate, and you guys have done a really good job at always, a lot of the applying this, right? A lot of the content that we have and that we continue to use was built kind of like as an update, and so even when you guys came in at a place where this content was created, you still continue to to update what we're doing, like update our presentations and our framework so that it's relevant to this audience now. Just fun. Great job, guys. This is super exciting. I've been trying to like gently nudge these guys that you got to get on the air with me, but it's kind of we're doing it in stages. They're already in full swing on all the outreach. I haven't had to like stop and lead an outreach in a while, which is really an awesome thing for me, and it's great to never feel like I get FOMO. I totally get like outreach FOMO. I think it's because when I was a little bit younger, I used to run a nonprofit organization, and of course I had a crew at one point, but at some point things started kind of getting tough, and there's some stretches there where I was just kind of doing outreach solo, and it's just like I'm like a one-man band, when it was just me, and I I've been in those trenches where it's just kind of you got a small crew, and it's hard to when you're volunteers, it's hard to organize. But that's one of the things that's awesome about this job and this work, I think, is that it presented an opportunity to do this work full time, and that's something that like I personally think it's super exciting that you two kind of came out of college and just hit the ground running and found this. I mean, I know you were at the university right after your degree, right? But then came over to our operation. But yeah, it's been a great thing. It's definitely exciting. give it to me one more time on the, if anybody out there is interested in doing some outreach or getting our crew in there to, talk shop on decolonization. Of course, this is, we're always happy to connect with high school teachers, college professors, GCC, UOG, whatever. But we've done a bunch of other stuff. I want to give some props to our friends over at the Bank of Guam, who were the first private organization to reach out to us and just say like, hey, we're down to do an outreach. Like we're down to like do a lunch hour. That's kind of how it happened with Bank of Guam. Was we were shopping. We're out trying to find partners to house our content, like to just put our books out, our brochures out somewhere where their audience can get it and just take it home with them. And so Bank of Guam, they couldn't have the books in the lobby. It was like against some policy or something like that. Can't remember. But it couldn't be in like the main lobby. But they're the ones who are like, hey, well, what about like an outreach? We'll like buy lunch and we'll tell all our colleagues, the workers, that we're gonna do this thing. And I was really I'm not gonna lie. I was expecting it to be like 3 people. 3 people with like their sack lunch, It's probably gonna be like my friends that work at Bank of Guam, be like, hey, what's up, guys? But we came into the room and they had a full house. I was so stoked. Like we're in their boardroom, and like everybody came. They had like I think the employee crew, they bought like Subway sandwiches, and everybody had like their lunch there. It was nice, really nice. But we've done a lot of cool stuff like that. So if you're an employer or an organization, a mayor, whatever, anybody, how do people get in touch with us if they want to do outreach?
They can email us directly. Can I say my email?
Yeah, of course.
Sure. It's my first name.
Government employee, bro.
Yeah, I'll spell it out. Byron, BYRON .Uggan at guam.gov. You can email me directly for any outreach opportunities, or even have the opportunity for us to make your business, org, institution a distribution site for our material.
Yeah, you could also reach out to us on Facebook or Instagram. We're on there too if you're on our Instagram Live. And shout out to all our current partners who have been so supportive of us at UOG and GCC and all of our outreach sites. I think Brewed Awakening is one of our only private outreach or distro sites for our material too. So shout out to them.
Right on. Okay, we are coming right up on the top of the hour. We got about 3 minutes left. And then in the next hour, stick with us. We're going to be talking a little bit about the work that COD does at a regional level, an international level, how all of this is applicable to to that part of the strategy. But yeah, if you've been tuning in with us, thank you for listening in. You are tuned into Wave 105.1 FM. I got Harmony Polygonus and Byron Uggan in the house. This is the Commission on Decolonization crew. This is the whole team right here, the trifecta. We are a small operation of overachievers. That's how we do. Yeah. So if you are interested, please reach out to us. We're happy to share all of our materials. Our stuff is really like pretty. It is. It's nice. Like we got like a nice book, we got nice prints, perfect binds and all that. And guess what? Everything is free. People see our stuff and it's of good quality. And people have asked me like, boy, how much is this book? Like, it's free, uncle.
Free 99.
It's free. That's the deal. Because that's part of the funding that we do get from the government is built. The lion's share of the funding is for what they call the Public Information Program. And so all of those funds that we utilize have to be for information and for public consumption. And so anything we produce in that, it cannot be sold. And so, we don't skimp on the quality of our product, but, we're not selling. And if you ever see somebody selling our books on eBay, you got to let me know. All right, guys, we'll be right back. You're tuned into Wave 105.1 FM. This is Challenge the Status Quo. Keep it locked.
Now available at GTA, iPhone 16. Hello, Apple. Apple Intelligence. iPhone 16 now features Apple Intelligence, the personal intelligence system that helps you write, express yourself, and get things done effortlessly. For a limited time, when you purchase iPhone 16, get a free $300 Visa gift card and a power accessories bundle with any new unlimited wireless plan on device installment. That's a value of $450. Terms and conditions apply. Visit gta.net for more information. GTA, we start with you.
Looking for something to do on Guam? Check out the GuamGuide.com for a full calendar of island events, from pop-ups, community events, to the next big party. Follow us on Instagram at the Guam Guide and visit us at theguamguide.com.
KGUM-FM, Agutnya, Guam. The sound of Guam is Wave 105 FM.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Progressive Insurance.
I'm Jennifer Kuiper. Iran launches a missile attack on Israel. Many of them were shot down by Israel and the U.S. Navy on President Biden's orders. CBS's Chris Livesay in Tel Aviv.
Ballistic missiles light up the night sky as Israel intercepts them, sending red-hot shrapnel floating like embers. Some leaked through Israel's defenses, hitting targets on the ground. Iran blanketed the length of the country with some 180 missiles, Israel says.
The Iranians say the barrage was in retaliation for recent Israeli attacks that killed most of Hezbollah's leadership in Lebanon. Conflicts like the one unfolding in Israel are likely to come up during tonight's CBS News vice presidential debate simulcast, which starts at 9 Eastern. CBS's Nancy Cordes.
The Vance team, interestingly, has been a lot more forthcoming. The Trump campaign has kind of laid out what he wants to do tonight. They say he wants to go after Tim Walz on immigration, and they say he wants to go after him on his 24-year military record. They just kind of put it out there. So I think we know, what to expect from him, at least when it comes to those issues.
No water, no power, no cell service. It's what many in western North Carolina have been experiencing since Hurricane Helene ripped through the area on Friday, bringing down trees and power lines and causing catastrophic flooding. This man is in Chesney, South Carolina.
In my small town of South Carolina, we don't have street lights, we don't have power, and most roads are blocked from trees. There's some towns that you can't even go to anymore.
President Biden tomorrow plans to take an aerial tour of the damage in North Carolina. The California State Assembly advances a bill backed by the governor that would allow the state to require companies to keep a certain level of fuel on hand, preventing gas prices from spiking. U.S. ports from Maine to Texas remain closed as tens of thousands of dock workers walk the picket line. Reporter Chris Fox is in Texas.
Dock workers from 14 ports along the eastern Gulf Coast walking the picket lines. Represented by the International Longshoresmen Association, a 77% pay raise is just one of their top demands. ILA's Bill Williams.
I hope most people don't look down on us for what we're doing here. They need to know, everybody needs to know our biggest fight's automation.
Saying automation kills jobs. The U.S. Maritime Alliance, representing the port employers, says its 50% wage increase offer exceeds every other recent union settlement. The White House is monitoring the situation. Chris Fox, for CBS News, Austin.
U.S. job openings rise to 8 million. This is CBS News.
Sponsored by Progressive Insurance. We offer auto, home, and commercial auto insurance, plus a variety of business insurance options. Visit Progressive.com today.
Stream the best of British TV on BritBox. Watch captivating dramas and gripping mysteries, whether it's entire series of massive hits like Sherlock and Vera, new seasons of originals like The Responder, starring international Emmy winner Martin Freeman, or an extraordinary selection of beloved treasures featuring Idris Elba, Jodie Comer, Matthew McFadden, Benedict Cumberbatch, and more. Only on BritBox. Watch with a free trial at BritBox.com.
Buying a home is one of the biggest financial decisions you'll ever make. Before you tour a home, the real estate professional you're working with may ask you to sign a buyer's agreement, which describes the services you'll receive, each party's role and responsibilities, and how your agent will be compensated, all of which you'll want to discuss with them up front. So work with an agent who's a Realtor. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors with a duty to honestly represent you and put your interests above their own, because that's who we are.
A fine dining experience with a difference in the British capital.
The restaurant Home Kitchen boasts a Michelin-starred chef. So far, so unsurprising given its location in upmarket Primrose Hill, London. But almost all of the staff are homeless. The new recruits get on-the-job training, which counts towards a professional qualification. Chef manager Adam Simmons says he's solving two problems at once, that of manpower shortages and of the negative perception so many have about homeless people. Asked why he chose to deal with the issue through fine dining, Simmons says if you can change perceptions in that world, you can change them anywhere. Vicki Barker, CBS News, London.
The 2024 class of the John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation Fellows includes more writers, artists, and storytellers than in years past. This year's recipients of the so-called Genius Grants also include multiple scientists. The new fellows include fiction writer Ling Ma, cabaret performer Justin Vivian Bond, and visual artist Ebony G. Patterson. Jennifer Kuiper, CBS News.
Dan owed an unbelievable amount of money to the IRS.
I got behind on my taxes. It's a horrible feeling.
He was in denial.
And when I got those letters from the IRS, you wanted to act like they didn't exist.
Finally, Dan turned to Optima Tax Relief, the leading tax resolution firm. A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau, they've resolved over $1 billion for their clients.
Optima got me a settlement with the IRS. These people are really people-friendly. It was every bit of a new lease on life for me.
The fast action and the great results made Dan's head spin.
I felt like I was in a dream, but it's real, and I have paperwork to prove it. They got the job done, and life is good.
For tax help you can trust, call Optima now for a free consultation.
If you're worried about what's going to happen with the IRS, stop worrying. Make the call now.
Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Dating is what it used to be. This is Soundbites, and I'm Alan Davidson. Maybe you haven't dipped a toe in the dating pool for a while. And when you do, you'll discover that it's not quite the way you remember it. Sometimes it even feels like there's a dating app for everyone, what with people everywhere swiping left and right. Still, some are fed up, and they're going back to the old-fashioned ways. For example, do you remember speed dating? Well, it's trending, thanks to people suffering from dating app exhaustion. The big difference? The events usually get set up and promoted on social media. Meetup and Eventbrite are amongst the busiest platforms for getting out the word in the cities, while Shuffle's an app that serves smaller markets. And if you trust Reddit, check your town's subreddit. With Soundbites, I'm Alan Davidson for CBS News.
Want to hold someone's attention? There's a few words to avoid. I'm Brian Bandmiller on business. Ever wonder why someone just tunes out or loses interest in your conversation? According to Inc.com, it could be because of the words you choose to use. Little words that can hold you back from really making your point. And the first one's a common one. It's the word but. It's pretty impossible to drop this from your vocabulary, but you should find a way to limit it. The word can signal a contradiction or negate what was said, making your listener feel dismissed. Instead, use the word and instead of but, or split up your sentences to drop the but. The second thing you should avoid saying is, I'll try. This can suggest a lack of commitment or confidence on your part to actually get the job done. An easy replacement for this is the phrase, I will, or I will do that. This is more decisive and sends a message of determination, which can then spread throughout the rest of the team. These words can be hard to drop, but you will succeed. Brian Bandmiller, CBS News.
Dating is what it used to be. This is Soundbites, and I'm Alan Davidson. Maybe you haven't dipped a toe in the dating pool for a while. And when you do, you'll discover that it's not quite the way you remember it. Sometimes it even feels like there's a dating app for everyone, what with people everywhere swiping left and right. Still, some are fed up, and they're going back to the old-fashioned ways. For example, do you remember speed dating? Well, it's trending, thanks to people suffering from dating app exhaustion. The big difference? The events usually get set up and promoted on social media. Meetup and Eventbrite are amongst the busiest platforms for getting out the word in the cities, while Shuffle's an app that serves smaller markets. And if you trust Reddit, check your town's subreddit. With Soundbites, I'm Alan Davidson for CBS News.
The views and opinions expressed in this show are that of the show hosts, guests, and callers. They do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of the staff and management of Wave 105 FM, Glimpses Media, or any of our partners. As we strive to provide quality, respectful, and engaging content, we welcome you to participate in the conversation. Thank you for tuning in to Wave 105 FM, the sound of Guam. Enjoy the show.
All right, and we're back. Thanks for hanging in there on the commercial break. There was something awesome there, I'm sure. I didn't catch it because it's bathroom break time. But yo, we're in the studio with Byron and Harmony, who are the two of the three that makes up the COD trifecta. Yeah. So we have our crew in here to talk a little bit about what the Commission on Decolonization is up to, what kind of work we do, how you get in touch. So we spent the last hour really covering our content and our outreach. I'm gonna do better in this next hour. My wife called me out on the break and said that I'm hogging the mic, which I do. Yeah, I love you, babe. Don't have the baby yet. I'm on call, guys. I'm on call right now because it's baby time. And so at any time I could just leave. I might just dip out, like in the live stream. One moment I'm here, the next moment I'm gone. You never know. My leave form is ready. But we're here and we're doing the thing. But yeah, so the last hour we talked a lot about the outreach and the content, how to get in touch. If you want to learn more about the Commission on Decolonization, the work we do, you want to learn more about political status, you want to get in touch with the statuses, the status task forces. That's one of the things that I forgot to mention. The Commission on Decolonization, we are not built to convince you to pick any one of the political status options. We're here to educate you on your right to decolonize, on what decolonization is, what's wrong with our current political status, why does it need to be changed. But when we have a political status referendum, what you're going to do is you're going to choose one of three options that are the only three options that would grant Guam a full measure of self-government. And so a lot of people ask about, for example, what happened to Commonwealth? Because the last time we voted, we voted on Commonwealth and we didn't get it. Congress shot down the Commonwealth Draft Act for Guam. And so people always ask, what happened to Commonwealth? How come Commonwealth is not on the ballot? And the simple answer is that Commonwealth is not a fully self-governing status. It's really more like an interim status. I kind of like to say this is not entirely accurate, but I like to think of it like Commonwealth is not on the ballot because Commonwealth is inevitable. Whatever status we choose, that's what I predict. I predict that we will inevitably end up in a Commonwealth type of temporary government until we are fully transitioned into that status. And I only say that because that's what happened with the Philippines, right? The Philippines was also an unincorporated U.S. territory, or was also a U.S. territory, and then became independent or chose independence. And before they became fully independent, they were under a temporary Commonwealth status for like a decade. Yeah. And so, we can't just change status overnight. We have to have some kind of transition. And so the Commission on Decolonization also manages the work of the three political status task forces. And those were identified by the United Nations and then recognized or adopted by the Guam legislature in our mandate and in our law. And so when there is a political status referendum, the only three legitimate status options would be full integration with the United States, or your administering power, which a lot of people call statehood, but the technical term is full integration, free association with the United States, or independence. Statehood, independence, free association. And so each one of them has a task force that's designed or built into the law. And so it's basically a group of volunteers that like one status over the other and are willing to kind of do the work they are the campaigners. Our campaign is just to convince you that you should care about this. You should learn more about this. You should be educated about this. And then when there's a referendum, you should go out and participate and choose your status. That's your basic human right, is to choose your own government. But the status task forces are built to tell you, you should pick this status over that one. This is the one you want. And so they're all volunteers, and they get public education funding. And so we basically manage their funds. And I know we're supposed to be talking about regional and international affairs, but let's do this one real quick. So each status has their own task force, and those people will basically organize their campaigns and then work with our office to spend their funding. Can you talk a little bit about the work that the status task forces do, how we work with them, and if you can, also give our listening audience a way to get in touch if they want to volunteer with the status task forces? I know this wasn't on our agenda. I'm throwing a curveball. My bad.
No worries. I think this is a really great time to talk about it with the activation or reactivation of the Free Association Task Force under new leadership. It's now Dr. Kenneth Goffigan Cooper, and with co-chair.
I'm not sure who their co-chair is. I don't know if they identified their co-chair.
It's that brand new.
It is that brand new. But I mean, I would say if you can get in touch with our office, and we can put you in touch with the task force leadership. But task force participation is open. All of them are. Unfortunately, you will not be a paid employee. You can't be a paid employee of a task force. But these are all volunteers, people who want to get involved and want to be proactive, and are committed to educating people about that particular status. But we do fund the cost of their education. So if status task forces want to put out ads, or they want to produce booklets, or they want to make a documentary or whatever, the Independence Task Force puts on an annual music concert, which is actually a really cool project. Well, what they do is they bring together a bunch of local music artists, poets, performers, and they try to get them all to perform something that's thematic to their stance and their strategy. And then they use that gathering to engage with the audience and share their information around their status. Their task forces have put out brochures. The statehood task force is working on a film project or video ad project. So, if you like a particular status and you want to get involved and you want to participate, it's completely open. All you need to do is get in touch with the task force leadership, the chair or co-chair, or any of the member volunteers, and they'll plug you in. All right. Yeah. I think that's good for the task force.
What's great about them too, just last thing, is that their information, like our information's all free, or their material and everything.
Yep.
As it's funded by our office. So.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, you gotta let us know, okay? If you see a task force that's like charging you for their brochure
or their T-shirts.
No, just joking. But I did want to make sure that we leave enough time to talk about some of the other work that the Commission on Decolonization does. And this is a piece that I really like, because it's kind of it's a holistic approach to the challenge that we face. And so, and particularly I'm talking about what we do in terms of Guam's regional work and Guam's international work. And by that, I mean engagement. So Guam, as a non-self-governing territory, the context is that we don't handle our external affairs, right? Like when it comes to, government to government engagements and partnerships, Guam does not manage that. We don't do that. Now, there are certain exceptions, like with our neighbors in Micronesia, for example. We are able to have diplomatic relations with them. We're able to negotiate and work collaboratively with them at an official government to government level. But that only is allowable because the State Department, the U.S. government says, yeah, that's okay. Those are your immediate neighbors in Micronesia, and they're all freely associated with us anyway, so we'll allow that. And then, there are other kind of more elaborate allowances like Taiwan, right? Taiwan is not like the freely associated states. And ironically, Taiwan is in a very kind of similar colonial situation with China that we are with the United States. But, they're another one that is kind of like, is kind of allowable, but it's a very kind of limited list, right? And on a wider regional level, especially when we're talking about the Pacific region as a whole, those are full of independent nations. And so our engagement with the rest of the region is very limited. And so I wanted to give you guys a chance to talk a little bit about, I mean, this was not on the list, right, on the official, like, initial job description of what you guys were going to do, and you jumped into this op. But, we really do, we behave very deliberately in incorporating this strategy into our work. So if you don't mind, you guys can kind of split it up and take a shot at it one at a time. But what are some of the things that we are doing in the regional framework that is relevant to our decolonization work?
Maybe we can discuss the Pacific Islands Forum. I'm sure we've announced it and the news has put it out there that we are now associate members of the Pacific Islands Forum, which is really great and awesome. It makes sense because we're in the Pacific, can't help but not be part of this great regional organization. And that also included American Samoa as well. Right. Our applications were approved by consensus. So we just recently, or Guam just recently submitted supportive testimony to the Pacific Islands Forum petition to the UN General Assembly, which is petitioning for an item regarding high sea level rise. Right. And they were doing this because they want to ensure that even though a land footprint would be lost due to sea level rise, the Pacific nations would still have sovereignty over these lost lands due to sea level rise. They'll have their full control over their EEZ. So Guam petitioned in support of that because, as I'm sure that many of you are aware, the Pacific peoples and nations are on the front line of climate change impacts. Right. So we supported testimony for that. A couple months ago? Yeah. Guam formally participated in the leaders meeting, and our executive director, along with the lieutenant governor, before that, participated in the foreign officials committee and the foreign ministers meeting as well.
And so this is the PIF is great because PIF is, I think that obviously this PIF is not like a super popular thing here in Guam at a local level. But it's definitely been getting a lot of play lately because it is a big victory to become to elevate to associate member status. But just for our listening audience who's unfamiliar with what PIF is and what this means for us or why this isn't significant or even relevant, is that the PIF basically represents a unified body of sovereign nations that have strategically banded together in order to create political power at an international level, in an international arena, right? I mean, all of us are very, with the exception of like Australia, all the Pacific nations are very small nations, small islands. But that shouldn't make us at a disadvantage at an international level. And even though, all of these, not all, but majority of these Pacific Island nations are recognized as sovereign nations at an international level, they also, the leaders of the Pacific have recognized that there is power in numbers and that there is value to being unified. And that's a big part of that's the heart and soul of the Pacific Islands Forum 2050 Blue Continent strategy is really like a play on Apeli Hau'ofa's Our Sea of Islands, and this idea of Oceania, that if you combine all these Pacific nations as one country, as a blue continent, we're one of the biggest nations in the world. And we have to, it's really a survival tactic. It's the only way that we are going to have a strong enough voice. Byron, you mentioned that we're often we're disproportionately impacted, and that's why we're at the front line of the climate change conversation.
Oh, sorry,
No,
something I
jump in
wanted
there.
to add
Please.
was that when we talk about like climate change, I think it's really cool that one way we really connect with our sovereign partners is on the theme of environment, and
Right.
especially sustainable development, which is how we try to get connections between our work at decolonization and self-determination connected to these larger issues.
Right.
And at this regional and international level, the SDGs have really been our friends.
Yep.
When we try to advocate the connections between us and these big issues that affect everyone. And then I wanted to mention like the G3 and the action framework and how, at least when I jumped in, like a lot of what we're doing now with like MIF and PIF, I didn't realize till later, like all of those were goals that were outlined like 5 years ago, and now we're achieving them, which is really cool.
It is great. It's such a cool thing to show up to the biannual meeting and give our report back to the governor and the lieutenant governor and the president at the university on what our group is on. For those of you that are tuning in for the first time or unfamiliar with what we're talking about, the G3 Guam Green Growth Action Framework is the largest public-private partnership, government public-private partnership that is built to work collaboratively to achieve the 17 United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And so the UN SDGs, or UN Sustainable Development Goals, were a set of targets that the world leaders agreed we all need to be on. We all need to start working toward these goals in order to, better protect our environment, our resources, and sustain life for the future. And so the SDGs, like Harmony mentioned, are really being prioritized by the Guam Green Growth team and the strategy. And so every year we always do the biannual meeting where we report back what each working group is after. And so our working group is Sustainable Alliances, and the whole thing in our group is to try to figure out how do we elevate Guam's voice, right? How do we have a greater impact, which is quite the conundrum when you're a non-self-governing territory. But I'm glad that you brought up the SDGs because we are preparing to engage at the United Nations. We do this 3 times a year. One is with the Pacific Regional Seminar, which is hosted by the C24, the 24th Committee, and that's the Special Committee on Decolonization. That committee is under the larger 4th Committee, and that's the one that we do at the end of the year. So we start with the Pacific Regional Seminar, and then we go into the C24, 24th Committee regular session. And then after that, we go into the 4th Committee. And the reason why we do it in that order is because the UN invites us to the Pacific Regional Seminar as part of their fact-finding mission, where they hear from the United States as our administering power and all the other nations, like all the colonizers. All the colonizers send in their report. Hey, man, it is what it is. We're just going to, call the duck a duck. Like France, the United States, the UK, they all submit their reports. This is the status of all of our remaining territories, the 17 that's left on the list. And then they say, then they ask us, they say, okay, territories, what do you think is going on? And what do you think is your report? And so if we don't show up, then whatever the U.S. says is the deal on Guam, that's the deal, at least to the rest of the world and to the United Nations. And so when they invite us to kind of give our side of the story, and then once they have that, then they use that information to produce the draft resolution on each territory for the year. It's funny, I'm looking at Harmony and Byron while I'm saying this like they don't know it. I need to just look at the iPad and make it easier for me. So they take that information, they produce a resolution on each non-self-governing territory. So Guam has its own resolution every single year. And then after that resolution is passed and adopted by the C24, then it goes up to the 4th Committee. And that's always sometime in October. And so at the 4th Committee level, if the resolution is adopted there, then that's like the record. That's the record for Guam
for the year until they do it again the following year where they reassess. And so the UN SDGs has become a big part of what we do at the United Nations and the way that we strategize around our engagement. And of course, our goal at the United Nations is to make the point for self-government, right, and advance toward it. So if you guys don't mind, can we talk a little bit about the work at the UN, and even better if we can kind of connect what we've been doing at the Micronesian regional level, Pacific regional level, and how that all connects to the United Nations? You guys can junk info. They can see it. They can see it on the live stream in case you're cheating. You're really gonna do it. They really junk.
Oh, he won.
Okay, that means that he picks.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Okay, you got to do this because I'm getting a message from Reese. Okay, go. We're gonna have a caller in a bit.
Okay. Okay. Since he won, I'll go. But anyway, our work I think what's important with our work at the UN is that it helps to hold the United States as our administering power accountable for their responsibility to the people of Guam as our administering power.
And it is a real responsibility.
Yeah. They signed the UN Charter. They said, yes, we will take this on as our non-self-governing territory.
We're only on the list because they put us on the list.
Yeah.
Right.
We're not making this up. It's on the record.
Yes.
But when it comes to like the SDGs, one of the important things that we're trying to connect with is climate change, and most especially sea level rise. And I think Byron did a great job explaining this earlier, how with sea level rise, we are looking at like sovereignty, and especially for low-lying, oh no, I'm getting in the weeds, but small island developing states that are low-lying, and how it's impacting them. And because we're in the Pacific and because we're their partners, we want to show support for them and the preservation of their sovereignty over their jurisdiction, just as we want sovereignty for ourselves.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's great. You know, what I really like about the strategy with PIF and MIF, Pacific Islands Forum, Micronesian Islands Forum, and how that translates into the kind of higher UN level is that we're really taking a play out of Micronesia's playbook. You know, when Micronesia was going after UN membership and recognition at an international level, they utilize all of these international engagements around environmental protection and preservation in order to make the case for why they should be self-governing and why they should be recognized by the United Nations. Because if we're going to talk environmental preservation, we need to be empowered to do it. You know, and they made sure that any conversation about environment, they're going to be there. And when they were there, they're also going to talk about their self-government, which is exactly what I think we're trying to do at this level. I just, sorry to keep you waiting. Attorney Pete Santos is on the line and wants to make a comment. Hafa, Pete, are you still there? Thanks for hanging in there.
I'm still here.
Hey.
Yeah, no problem. I just got out of court, so I only caught parts of the conversation. I actually wanted to make a comment and also ask what your guest experience has been. So I had the opportunity to work with folks from the UN, but in a different context, you know, with State Department folks.
Oh, yeah, that's fun.
Yeah. And one of the complaints, or one of the things that I was made aware of, is that the rapporteurs, you know, are political appointees, and the UN is a big bureaucracy.
It is.
And a lot of times things fall on deaf ears, or they don't get the impression that they're invested,
right,
or that they really care about the issues. Has that been your guys' experience?
I can definitely answer, and Harmony can chime in too. She had her first crack at the C-24 this past summer, but I can say from my personal experience, I would agree with that there is absolutely a ton of bureaucracy that exists within the United Nations, which is. And it's always difficult to navigate a bureaucracy, even more difficult to navigate a bureaucracy without official presence and representation, which I imagine is not much unlike, you know, our challenge in Congress with a non-voting representative. But I think that, you know, in the same breath, one of the things that makes me, I guess, encouraged is that anytime that I've got an opportunity to meet with people who are from one of the freely associated nations that were involved with
attaining their sovereign status, their freely associated status, they all have said the same thing, that yeah, this is tough. And in the beginning, we really struggled because we didn't have a place here. And like several of them, it's funny, I've talked to several people from different island nations, from Palau, from FSM, from RMI, and they have all said something similar, that they just go out there. They just, like, we would just walk up on people. We'll like wait at the lunchroom, and once they're done eating, we know what nation they're from. We know what ambassador you are. We walk up on them and just say, hey, I'm from the FSM, or I'm from RMI, I'm from Palau, and this is what we're doing. And so in some ways, yes, I agree with you. I've also had that experience, that it does feel very kind of bureaucratic and very disconnected, and it's so hard to just kind of assert yourself and to have a voice and a presence. But at the same time, and I'm normally not this optimistic, but at the same time, like, I can say that I have been encouraged, like, being able to have the experience to go out there and to make friends and to meet people, and to have, when I've gone out, the second or third time, and I see somebody like in the UN, in the 24th committee, that helped me get my security pass, and I know their name now, I have them on WhatsApp now, so I'm over here like, hey, can you help me figure out how to do this? Can I need to meet with this person, that person, being able to get help. And even at the US UN, at the, which is the State Department, in the beginning, it was just very weird and awkward, because they don't want to meet with us. We're not really supposed to meet with them.
Yeah, because you don't have a seat at the table. Yeah. They're like, excuse me, who are you again?
Yeah, you're supposed to go to DOI. Like, what are you doing here?
Right.
You should be at Interior. But the more and more that we engage with them, and the more and more that's one of the cool things too, is learning that, like, you don't want to really talk to the ambassador. You know what I mean? The ambassador could change. When the president changes, the ambassador will change. What you want is like the desk employee, the permanent employee. That's the one you want, because that one is
because that's who the ambassador is going to lean on for information, anyways.
Yeah, and so I think that doing that is, I've definitely learned a lot. And my first, I'll never forget the first time I went to the UN when I was director at COD. I was just like a fish out of water. I was so lost, overwhelmed. Is in the big city, you get to the place that you've seen on TV, and I'm like, oh, what do I do now? And it was so overwhelming and so difficult. But, after doing it more and more, and it's a learning curve. Like, the first time I went out there, that's what I was doing. I was just really just trying to learn. I go out, I do my statement, and then even just simple things like delivering the statement. I've learned now that I need to give myself like a 1 minute buffer. Like a 1 minute buffer underneath the time limit, because you got to go slow enough for the interpreter. Otherwise, the member is not going to know what you're saying, because not everybody, speaks English. I mean, little things like that I think are very helpful. And, our engagement has changed significantly. We email the C24 chair quite often. Every time that we've been out to the UN, the C24 chair will always meet with us and will always work with us on our concerns. But I want to give Harmony a chance to also chime in on this, because I don't know what her personal experience with this is, but I'm sure that it's something similar to what you and I have experienced too.
Yeah, no, I just want to voice the same sentiment as Mr. Mao, that it's very on-the-job learning, and I've only been out there once, so it's pretty new to me too. But I think what's great is that we can build off the institutional knowledge that we've developed here on Guam. So every time we go out there, we're more experienced, more connected, and we're able to make more progress, which is great. I see it in a very positive light, despite it being very bureaucratic when you go to the UN, and it is a slower process to get things accomplished.
Yeah, and the only thing I would advise is, it's definitely one of those, it's not what you know, but who you know.
It really is.
Like I still have a lot of contacts from my international law class, and some of them are movers and shakers in their countries. Right, it was a program with a lot of international students, and I'm still connected with them, and I see a lot of the stuff that they're doing. If you can make contacts like that, like through Julie and Uggan or things, other people like that,
right,
that would help tremendously.
Oh, absolutely. And if you have any suggestions, please email us. We're always happy to take any chance that we can on advancing our work. But thanks for the perspective. I think that it's it's cool to see that there are others who have engaged at this level for something else, but kind of had this similar outcome. But this is also, I think, the value of the regional work that we're doing now, and especially at the Pacific Islands Forum level, because it's a bigger pool of sovereign nations, and this is a great way for us to create allies and create opportunities. For example, with the Fiji hosted the Pacific Islands Forum this year, and Fiji is obviously a member of PIF, a member of the United Nations, but also so happens to be a member of the C24. And so when we went out to the C24 this past summer for their session and to fight for the language we wanted on Guam, we go out and we request for meetings to anyone and everyone. Anyone who will meet with us, if we can squeeze it in, we're going to meet with them.
Like our former congressman said, we're adulting now.
Yeah, totally. We were totally adulting, Pete. We were doing our best adult version act that we could. But we met with Fiji ambassador, which was awesome. It's always great when they send an ambassador to meet with you. And so, we're honored that the ambassador welcomed us into his mission and was happy to sit down with us. And, of course, we had our priorities on what we wanted to see on the resolution, some of the support that we wanted within the committee. But we also made sure that we took our shot on PIF. We let the ambassador know, hey, we are applying for associate membership at PIF. We intend to be in Fiji for the engagement for the foreign ministers meeting and the foreign officials committee meeting. And the governor will go to Tonga for the leaders meeting. And we're serious about this. And at that time, there were members within Melanesia and Polynesia that were kind of saying, well, we're not really interested in hearing associate member applications right now. We got other priorities that we want to focus on. Let's, hold off on this. And the word was that Fiji was one of those members that was kind of saying, maybe you guys should just wait until we finish the assessment on their regional architecture. But when we met with the ambassador, he said, well, they may be saying that, but I don't think that should stop you. I would encourage you to do it. I'm happy to hear that you're doing it. I'm happy that you talked to us about it, but we will pass the word on to our leadership. And so it was great, to be able to feel confident going into Fiji, to the host country, that, they were going to have our back on this issue. And now that we're associate members, it means that we're involved in the conversation, which previously we weren't. This is my first time going to the Pacific Islands Forum. And I'll never forget that kind of feeling of being on the outside looking in. And when they just politely be like, all right, observers, you guys got to go now. Step out of the room. The adults are talking, it's like, oh man, this is whack, this is whack. But, we are creeping our way into this. And this is one of the things too, that we're working on multiple levels at the United Nations, at the PIF level, the Micronesian Islands Forum level, and even the Austronesian Forum. Is we're trying to figure out, what is the interest in partnership on a diplomacy training program. And this it made me think of this when you're saying, hey, you have these international contacts from, your law school network. And this is in its principle, the same kind of concept, right? Is creating a network of professionals that can help us upskill our future diplomats. Because right now,
yeah, and if they're not in the chair to do anything, they can point you or make the introductions to the person who can.
Right. And I think that's great. This is really the thing that makes me very excited, and encouraged, especially that, I got these two young, intelligent people that are, that really upskilling, right? In the beginning, I'm sure that you guys, knew that it was going to be a lot of writing and a lot of research and, obviously a lot of outreach too. But this other aspect of the work that we do, and in terms of the regional focus, regional strategy, international engagement, this is stuff that I kind of look at this as like extra credit. This is not spelled out directly in the mandate, but there are clear implications. There's clear value to doing this. It has to be done. And to the criticism in the public that says that, oh, who cares about the UN? The U.S. doesn't even care about the UN. I say that, we're not just doing the UN and abandoning the federal strategy. A lot of people say that, we shouldn't bother with the UN. We should just focus all of our attention on solving, political status with the feds. But we're not doing that. We still engage with the feds. Honestly, I think we could be better for sure. Like our congressmen could be way better on pushing the issue at a federal level in Congress. Absolutely. All of our leaders, all of our senators, you know what I mean? Our administration and the congressional rep as a unit collectively, I think they can all be better about saying this is our priority, but we are still doing that. We're still floating this issue at a federal level. We're just adding the international piece too. Mm-hmm. And then now by strengthening it and adding a focus on the regional affairs, man, I'm running this threes theme lately. Like all morning I've been on the trifecta. I just made another one. I just made another triangle there.
You can't just put all your eggs in one basket.
You can't. I agree.
Not only that, it's more convincing to the feds when they know that, they have to be transparent because you're talking to, the other players in the game.
Yeah,
right?
We're just keeping
So they're not
going
to just take you to the back room and say, hey, this is how it's going to be.
Yeah, right.
This is just between us.
Right.
No, now it's all out on the table. Now it's all out in the open. They have to practice good faith.
Yeah, I agree. And it's been great. It's been great knowing that we have State Department engagement. Like that's something I'm not going to be going to the UN this year. I'm on call for baby duty. But Harmony will be representing our office. The governor is sending her representative. And we're confident that we're going to get engagement, not just from the committee, but from the U.S. UN. We've already started communicating with the U.S. UN prior to the session. Last year was actually, or not last year, but this past summer when we did the C24 session was the first time that we didn't get a meeting with the U.S. UN. The last several times we've been there, we've had regular engagement. So, it's definitely a plus. Like any opportunity to talk with the federal government and engage at that level is valuable because we don't have an Office of Foreign Affairs. We don't have, a formal mechanism to just call the U.S. ambassador and say, hey, this is what we're doing at the UN. We want your support, But when that message is coming through.
Well, you guys keep up the great work. I've got to run.
You,
glad to hear everything that you guys are working on and just continue to develop it and take us further.
I appreciate it, Pete. Thanks for always tuning in and calling in. You have a great day. Esta. Right on, guys. So we still got a little bit of time. I figured it's a good place for us to try to start connecting the dots. We kind of touched on some of this stuff with the last caller, but I'm really proud of the deliberate approach on how to connect what we're doing in the Micronesian region and the wider Pacific region, and what we're doing at the United Nations level. It's definitely encouraging to see. And it's cool to see that you guys have applied this at a much higher level than really is required of you. And I'm going to throw you another curveball here that was not on our prep sheet, but I wanted to just take a chance to talk a little bit about about COP. We talked a little bit about the strategy to keep our self-government and our sovereignty issues connected to these climate change issues, sustainability issues. But recently, the two of you applied to a grant scholarship, right, for COP?
Yeah.
Can we talk a little bit about that?
It's a chance to be delegates for the upcoming COP that they're having in Azerbaijan.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about COP, about because this is something that you guys kind of just springed on. I didn't know that. I didn't even know about this. Listening audience, I'm rarely uninformed about what my crew is doing, but these guys are super smart, and they came through one day and was like, "Yeah, we're gonna apply to this thing. Can we list you as a reference?" I was like, "Wow, this is great. I didn't even think about this." But talk to us a little bit about the program, and then let's talk after that about how we're connecting these dots and how is COP even relevant to the Commission on Decolonization?
Oh, great. So this is the 29th COP, otherwise known as the Conference of Parties, which really put an emphasis on climate change action.
Right.
And one thing that Harmony and I observed when reading just like the synopsis for the application in the first place, they're having a focus specifically on low-lying Pacific nations.
Right.
So hopefully if one of us happened to go, that'd be a great opportunity for Guam, but it's really great that they're emphasizing the need to really empower Pacific nations that are low-lying and are being directly affected by climate change. And I know that the last COP, which was held, had representation from Guam.
Right.
Javen Santos.
Shout out to
Hey,
Javen.
Yes, shout out to
Javen,
Javen.
all
Yes.
Love him.
Yeah.
And so what made you, so what motivated you guys? How did you find out about this application and, you know, opportunity to apply to be a delegate? And, you know, what motivated you to do it? I mean, why COP?
Yeah, so, well, how we found out about it is it's actually connected to Javen. So he got us into connection, our office last year with this organization. Forgot the full, like, spelled out version, but their acronym is ICLE. And then ICLE told us about this opportunity to apply to be delegates for the youth portion of COP29. And I think it's really cool because something prior to Javen, we didn't really have representation for Guam at COP, which is important because it's this forum that allows all nations to advocate for how climate change is affecting them and how they intend to work to lower their greenhouse gas emissions and address the issues that climate change is now imposing on all of us, most especially low-lying islands, which is the theme for this year. And I think it's great that it connects to our work, what we're doing with PIF and MIF and their advocacy for the sovereignty and the marine zones of their territories when it comes to sea level rise. So it's cool that everything's connecting and we get to play a small part in it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really happy that, you know, I'm always happy when the two of you kind of apply this at a larger scale, at a higher level, and, you know, take the initiative to engage and strategize, right? I think that's an important thing because that's the only we're not gonna get the budget appropriation to grow the crew like next year. And so I think it's important that we just, you know, upskill ourselves and just be more efficient and be more strategic about, you know, how we do what we do. I know that we're not, I know a lot of this is still kind of up in the air. We'll see if, you know, how things go with your applications, but let's just play predictability here. Let's just say, for the sake of the argument, if you were to be selected as delegates at COP, how do you envision the application of your role here at the Commission on Decolonization, our mission, right, our goals? How do you apply that at a place like COP, an engagement like COP? How do you imagine that could have an impact on what it is that, you know, our larger goals?
Yeah, since we don't really have a formal mechanism for external engagement, a lot of this is really sort of ad hoc. We just throw anything we can at the wall and hope that it sticks. At least with this opportunity, it's sort of an advocacy for our status as a non-self-governing territory, right? But ultimately, it's also advocating for sovereignty over our environmental resources, especially impacts of climate change, sovereignty over natural resources that is, it can be argued that it is affected by military developments by our administering power, right? And then how we, as a central island in Micronesia, how we have to also possibly be a refuge for those climate migrants from our neighbors as well. So really, it's another point of advocacy that hopefully we can utilize to say and assert Guam's voice, right? And how we have to designate our interests as opposed to the national interest, which sometimes doesn't really apply to Guam.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really great point. Go ahead. You wanted to add something?
Oh, no. I just wanted, I mean, what Byron said was excellent. Like, that's everything that I wanted to cover. But yeah, just saying that we get a seat at the table and an opportunity to advocate in a way that we haven't traditionally. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. You know, it's not like Guam has been completely absent from the climate change conversation. It's just we're forced to participate in different ways. You know, as non-sovereign nation, as a non-member of the UN, where most of the high-level conversation is happening. You know, we don't have a seat at the table. We don't have, like you said, a formal mechanism to appear to be included. But that's the thing that I really love about the work with the Pacific Islands Forum and the strategy and stance that we've taken at a regional level, is that it does give us, it provides us merit to be involved in the conversation. And even I think it's ironic too that even like the State Department You know, when we were trying to elevate to associate membership, there was a concern by the U.S. State Department, and their legal counsel actually got involved. And in the end, they determined that, oh yeah, you know, we wouldn't prevent Guam. You know, Guam does have a right to engage with, you know, their regional neighbors who have this, you know, historic and cultural and linguistic connection with each other. But they were also very deliberate and clear to remind us that, you know, you can be associate members of PIF, but you can't take a stance on anything that conflicts with the United States, you know, stance in the region, or stance on anything, really. Like, we can't, you know, you can go and act like you're a sovereign nation so long as you don't cross the line here, here, and here. You know, like, these are the things that you're not, you can say these things, but not these things, you know, which is, it's a tough thing to reckon with, you know. And on one hand, we're excited about the victory, you know, we're elevating, we can participate with our Pacific brothers and sisters and, you know, engage as equals. But on the other hand, it's kind of like that ugly truth and painful reminder that you can only go so far with this thing, you know. But nonetheless, I think that this has to be a part of the strategy too, right? Is that we engage in other ways. And that's what I like. That's why I was excited about you guys' COP application. And best of luck to you. I hope that everything works out. It'll be a nice thing, you know, to have other ways that we can engage, other people, other voices engaging, you know, for Guam. So super exciting.
And shout out to our partners at like MCCA, who do amazing work when it comes to climate change, like locally, and they keep us really connected when it comes to those issues as well. Oh shoot, yeah, I almost forgot. If you have not yet visited the Tenai Anamu exhibit at the Guam Museum, it is still live, but it will be coming down at the end of October. I believe October 31st is the last day to view it. It's open from Tuesday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 4. COD has a small section in there for the exhibit, and if you'd like to participate, this is your last chance. It's an interactive exhibit, a lot of fun, but they are Hita Letekzen is doing the walk. Hita Letekzen is hosting a help me out, guys. Yeah, we're finding it too.
Okay. There's an event happening not this weekend, but next weekend. Is it Sunday? Saturday?
I believe it's the 13th, which
okay.
it
October
should be
13th, and it's a walk.
Sorry. Let's see here.
I'm not doing it justice. I'm over here like it's a walk. I'm making it sound like it's not cool, but it is. There you go. Ina Motna 2K 5K, my bad. It's a 2K 5K. And this is what it. Okay, where is it at? Sorry, I closed it. And how do you register?
Okay. It's going to be held at Leo Palace on Saturday, September 28th. Showtime 5 p.m. Go time.
Oh, sorry, Harmony.
Oh, is that the wrong one?
This is sorry.
Oh,
so it's
wrong
called.
one.
No, it's okay, Harmony. Yeah, so it's titled "A Walk for Water."
There
so
you
it's
go. The Walk for Water. My bad,
no,
guys.
it's okay. So it's a celebration at Letezen for water, justice, and native
Yes.
land stewardship. I'm just reading the promo poster, which looks amazing. So it'll be Sunday, October 13th. Showtime is at 8. Walk time is at 9, and it looks like they have musical cultural performers at 10 o'clock. So if you want further information, you can visit their Instagram page, just Micronesia Climate Alliance, for more details.
Up. Okay.
Period. Our
Thank
only
you,
social
Byron,
media
for making
literate.
sure that you came through with the information. If you are interested in getting down, MCCA is the one you want to contact. Great event. These guys are a fantastic community organization that does a lot of good work around climate change, but also, Guam's political status and sovereignty issues. So we're up at the top of the hour, and unfortunately our time has run out, but keep it tuned in. Hopefully we'll be back with another show next week. I may be on leave, so we'll see how it goes, but no baby, I'll be here for show. Anyhow, thank you, Harmony, Byron, for joining us in the studio today. Thanks again to Reese, who's always holding us down in here.
Thanks, Reese.
Yeah, thank you.
You are tuned in to Wave 105.1 FM. This is Challenge the Status Quo. And stay tuned. There's a lot of great programming left in the day. Have a nice one.
Attention all construction industry professionals.